I/Atlas has been watching us for decades. And yesterday, it finally spoke. Something out there in the black has been paying attention. Not randomly, not casually. Watching, tracking, collecting. For months, for years, we thought we were listening to empty space. Harmless blips, static, cosmic background noise. Nobody paid much attention. Then a new kind of machine decided to listen harder. An AI trained to find order in chaos. A system designed to read patterns that human eyes and ears miss. We gave it what we thought was noise. It returned something else entirely. 3. I/Atlas is watching. The discovery. At first, it was a calibration test. Feed clean radio recordings into the AI, make sure it doesn't hallucinate. 6 months of radio data from an object we called 3I/Atlas, just to see if the system behaved. Within hours, the AI flagged structure where nothing should have been. Not randomness, not noise, signal, pattern, code. Engineers thought it was a bug. They called it an anomaly, and then they decoded the first packets. The room went silent. This wasn't a greeting. It wasn't a puzzle for our math books. It was a report, a methodical, unblinking dossier about Earth. Satellite positions, communication networks, population movements, critical infrastructure, missile sites, power grid vulnerabilities. Every detail cataloged with the care of an intelligence agency. Only this agency was not human. The AI didn't just see patterns. It read them. Discrete data packages, transmitted with error correction and redundancy techniques beyond our current deep space comms. 47 distinct information packets, cycling every 6.22 hours, each packet checked and verified like pages in a report. And then, the strangest part, every transmission stopped for exactly 18 minutes. During those gaps, faint signals returned from deep space. 3I/Atlas was not only sending intelligence. It was getting instructions. 3. I/Atlas is watching. Packets 1 through 12 read like dossiers from our own intelligence communities. Every major radio transmitter mapped. Military radar installations cataloged. Satellites charted with coordinates precise enough to isolate individual arrays. Power plants, water infrastructure, logistic hubs, all identified, all ranked for strategic value. Imagine a camera over every city that knows where the lights go out first, where communications fail, what collapses when supply chains are struck. Imagine that camera is not human. Packets 13 through 23 were a census on steroids. Not just head counts, but behavior, traffic flows, holiday migrations, evacuation patterns, how crowds move when governments give instructions or when they panic. Data that in our world takes years of study and expensive sensors to assemble. And yet someone had already done it. They knew how cities empty under warning, how markets freeze, where refugees will head. Predictive models, but perfected. Then came the military assessments. Nuclear storage sites identified and classified. Missile defenses mapped and scored. Naval bases, command centers, redundancy points, everything cataloged like items on an inventory. Analysts in the room used words like shopping list and target map. One analyst later said, in a classified briefing, it found our weak spots. And worse, the packets included history, decades of observations, communications logs stretching back to the 1990s, development timelines for technology. This was not a recent glance. This was long-term surveillance. They had been watching us grow up. The transmission's cadence matched 3I/Atlas's rotation. Every 6.22 hours, the object pointed a directional antenna, sent a block of data, then paused for 18 minutes, the time it took to receive and apply updated instructions. The target of those transmissions traces to coordinates 12.7 light-years away, toward Lyra. Those coordinates imply an installation, not a natural star. The energy required to do this is enormous. Either the origin has power sources we can't imagine, or they use physics we don't yet understand. Immediate human response. Urgent, controlled chaos tone. When the decoded content reached government channels, the reaction was immediate and severe. Emergency committees in secure rooms. Intelligence agencies classifying the data at the highest levels. Old rivalries shelved overnight. For the first time in recent history, National security teams treated a non-human intelligence compromise like a human espionage attack. Bunkers designed for nuclear war turned into war rooms for strategy against something that had already watched us from the dark. How do you fight an opponent that knows your infrastructure better than you do, that knows your evacuation routes, your communication choke points, the exact coordinates of your defenses? We faced a question our strategists had never truly solved. Can any defense be effective when it's already mapped and categorized? Outside those rooms, cities hummed with normal life. People commuted, children went to school, couples argued at dinner tables. The extraordinary work of the weeks before the announcement meant that most citizens remained unaware as leaders whispered and contingency plans were written. That contrast, the ordinary and the apocalyptic, is what made it feel unreal. So we asked the questions that mattered. Who is listening? Why are they watching? Are they studying us to help us, to trade with us, or to learn how to unmake us? And where are the replies going? Every 18-minute pause told us that somewhere, someone was saying something back. What could those responses be saying? If the listener is hostile, the data becomes a playbook. Attack the supply routes that keep cities alive. Disable communication hubs to sow chaos. Strike energy grids to blind and silence. Small, surgical strikes that cascade into systemic breakdowns. Not annihilation, not at first, but engineered collapse. Precision blows to topple systems. If they're neutral, maybe they catalog like naturalists catalog species. Observation without intention to harm. The reports could be scientific, a long-running study of a complex biosphere. But even neutral observation confers advantage. Knowledge changes the balance. Knowledge can be weaponized. Scenario: if they're allies. If they were allies, why the secrecy? Why the directional antenna and error-corrected packets instead of open contact? Why the pauses and replies across light years rather than simply sending a universal symbol of friendship? Friend or enemy, the method speaks more loudly than the content. This discovery forced a universal moral reckoning. How much of our private lives are safe in the presence of a technology that listens across decades and distance? What does sovereignty mean when you can be observed from an installation 12.7 light-years away? Global response. Internationally, the discovery reunited old adversaries. Intelligence agencies swapped secrets. Military commanders rewrote plans. Cyber units scanned for previously unknown vulnerabilities. The world's top scientists were pulled into secure labs to study the signal and to ask, can we reply? Should we reply? The dilemma of response. Replying risks revealing more than we intend. Silence risks giving the observers time to prepare. A message, if miswritten, could invite action. The stakes. Every word, every pattern, every frequency we send back now could be read, decoded, and judged. 3. I/Atlas is watching. What we can do. First, acknowledge vulnerability. Catalog what we don't know. Harden the systems we can. Redundant communications, decentralized power, emergency logistics that don't rely on single nodes. Second, share knowledge internationally so that no single nation faces the risk alone. Third, invest in defensive tech, but not only weapons. Invest in resilience. Local food, local power, local communications. The ethical path. We must also debate how to engage. Do we send a diplomatic packet, simple, unthreatening, crafted to avoid revealing our tactics? Do we broadcast a universal message that says, we are here, we will not be your subjects? These questions belong to philosophers as much as they do to generals. The unknown. What the pauses might mean. Those 18-minute pauses haunt every analysis. They are not empty. They are full of answers we can't hear. When the transmission stops, faint replies arrive from deep space. Imagine, for a moment, that every pause is a question and every faint reply a verdict. Personal note. Humanity's choice. There is terror in being observed. There is bravery in choosing how to respond. We will not be the first species in the universe to be cataloged if there are others. But we must choose what kind of species we will be now. Cornered and reactive, or thoughtful and collaborative. Tonight, I want you to think about what matters most. Resilience over convenience. Transparency over hidden hierarchies. cooperation over secrecy that isolates. Share this video if you think it should be public knowledge. Talk to people. Hold leaders to account. Demand clarity. This is the kind of issue that affects every human being, not just the people in war rooms. 3. Atlas is watching. Not to scare you, to wake you, to remind us that we are part of a much larger universe, and that being noticed changes everything. By the end of this series, we will break down the decoded packets in detail. We'll reconstruct how the AI decoded them, show what the packets revealed, and examine the options the world's leaders discussed behind closed doors. Subscribe if you want to follow the next episode, the one where we read the packet that named our satellites and mapped our cities. For now, look up, listen harder, and remember, someone out there is paying attention. 3. Atlas is watching. Something out there in space has been watching us. And yesterday, it finally spoke. For months, scientists dismissed the faint signals from 3I/Atlas as nothing more than space noise. Random blips, harmless static drifting through the void. Nobody paid much attention until a new AI system decided to take a closer look. At first, it was just a calibration test. The AI was fed the noise from 3I/Atlas to see if it could detect patterns elsewhere. No one expected anything, but within hours, the AI found something impossible. The signals weren't random. They weren't noise. They were structured. They were messages. The patterns repeated with perfect precision, like a carefully written code. And when researchers examined what the AI uncovered, they realized it wasn't trying to talk to us. It wasn't a friendly hello. It wasn't a mathematical puzzle. It wasn't a cosmic greeting. It was something far more unsettling, a detailed report on Earth, designed for someone else entirely. It knew where our satellites were. It mapped our communication networks. It tracked our population movements, our military bases, our vulnerabilities we didn't even know existed. And it had been doing it for decades. The discovery set off alarm bells across the world. Emergency meetings, classified intelligence briefings, top secret protocols pulled from dusty folders once meant only for fiction. Everything escalated in hours. The AI had unlocked a message that rewrote the way we think about our place in the universe. Tonight, we're diving into that message, exploring what it reveals about Earth, and confronting a terrifying possibility. 3I/Atlas isn't here to visit. It's here to observe. And someone, somewhere far beyond the stars, is listening. By the end of this, you'll understand why what was once dismissed as static may be the most important signal humanity has ever received. The discovery happened by accident, which makes it even more chilling. MIT's Quantum Enhanced Signal Project had been building AI that could find patterns in chaos, organization invisible to human minds. Think of it like this. Imagine someone hiding a secret melody in what sounds like random piano notes. To you, it's just noise. But the right AI doesn't just hear the notes. It reads the sheet music, buried in the chaos. That's what happened with 3I/Atlas. 6 months of radio data were fed into the system. The team expected the obvious, random emissions from a chunk of space rock. Instead, the AI flagged something it called structural anomalies. At first, they thought it was a bug. The AI was finding patterns where there shouldn't be any. But when the system decoded the data, the room fell silent. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. This shouldn't exist, but it did. The AI didn't just detect structure, translated it. Every packet of data had been written with precision, as if whoever sent it knew that mistakes couldn't survive the long journey across space. It wasn't noise. It was a book written about us. In 4 hours, the AI decoded 6 months of signals. And what it revealed forced every government with access to lock the results under the highest security classifications. This wasn't natural. This wasn't chance. This was engineered. 47 distinct information packages, transmitted every 6.22 hours. Not greetings, not proofs, not peace, but intelligence reports, surveillance, analysis, a complete assessment of Earth's capabilities and its flaws. The first 12 packets looked eerily familiar, almost like our own intelligence files. Major radio transmitters mapped, radar stations, satellite networks, military bases identified with frightening precision. The next set analyzed populations, not just numbers, patterns, migration, traffic flows, economic activity, even human responses to emergencies. One packet showed how cities empty during evacuations. Another, how populations shift during holidays. Another, how panic spreads. Whoever sent these signals wasn't curious about humanity. They were studying how to control us. And then came the military packets. Nuclear stockpiles classified by threat level. Missile defenses rated and analyzed. Naval fleets tracked in real time. Power grids, internet choke points, supply chains, every weak spot exposed. Think about that, one analyst whispered in a classified briefing. They've been studying us like lab specimens. They know where to push, and how little it would take to make everything collapse. The final packets were the most disturbing of all. Historical data, patterns from the 1990s, military communications from the Cold War, economic cycles from the early digital age. They had been watching us, not for years, for generations. Every transmission wasn't random. It was timed with 3I/Atlas's rotation, a directional antenna sweeping Earth like a spotlight. And every few hours, the signal paused. Exactly 18 minutes. During those silences, faint return signals were detected from deep space. 3I/Atlas wasn't just reporting. It was receiving. Somewhere out there, across the stars, something was reading these reports and sending back orders. The target of these transmissions was even more unnerving. Not a star system, not a planet. A precise coordinate 12.7 light-years away, in the direction of Lyra. Too exact to be natural. It wasn't random exploration. It was a command center, and the power required to send these flawless, error-corrected signals across light-years. Beyond anything we can imagine. No visible engines. No energy source. Just silence and precision. The object was talking across impossible distances with perfect clarity. And the question that haunted every sleepless night in every war room was simple. What was the reply? World leaders panicked quietly. Underground bunkers designed for nuclear war were restocked, reactivated, staffed. Not for bombs. For survival of the species. Encrypted networks rolled out overnight. Every signal treated as compromised. Because if 3I/Atlas could see everything, then nothing, not even our secrets, were safe. We weren't dealing with curiosity. This was calculated, deliberate, relentless. They weren't just watching Earth. They were preparing for it. And then came the countdown. 36 days. Not 36 days of peace. Not 36 days of calm. 36 days of relentless observation. 36 days until 3I/Atlas would complete its mission, transmit one final surge of data, and leave our solar system. What would that last transmission say? That we are harmless? That we are prey? That we are ready? Or that we are ripe? Nobody knew. But the energy signatures detected in recent days suggest something is coming. Systems on 3I/Atlas, dormant for decades, are powering up. Preparing for one final signal, one that dwarfs everything before it. The final report, one analyst whispered, eyes glued to the data feed. The message that decides our future. Across the world, governments brace. Emergency drills run in silence. Critical staff relocated to underground fortresses. But deep down, everyone knows the truth. Against an intelligence this advanced, with decades of surveillance, every defense might already be compromised. Every move anticipated. Every weakness prepared for. We aren't defending against an unknown. We are defending against something that already knows us better than we know ourselves. The pauses in the transmission are growing heavier now. Each silence a checkpoint. Each echo a conversation between something here and something out there. And every 18 minutes, Earth waits for a reply it cannot hear. 36 days remain. 36 days to discover whether we've been selected for contact, for conquest, or for elimination. The answer lies hidden in signals we're still desperately trying to decode. Signals written not for us, but about us, signals meant for others, for those who sent it, for those who are listening. And if they are listening, then so are we, because 3i/Atlas has shown us the truth. We were never alone, we were never safe, and we were never in control. This is the sound of observation. This is the silence before a reply. And this is the countdown to humanity's next chapter.